where money met power and a single man redefined the course of America. Meet the financial maestro whose legacy still echoes in the corridors of Wall Street today. This is the insane story of JP Morgan, a real-life monopoly player who owned the first ever billion-dollar company. He was the mastermind behind industries that practically printed money. We're talking steel, railroads, electricity, the lifeblood of an emerging nation. He held so much sway that Uncle Sam himself often looked to him for financial salvation. A single word, a flick of his pen, and he could rescue a company on the brink of collapse or send it hurtling into the abyss of bankruptcy. But like every legend, JP Morgan had his fair share of admirers and haters. Some folks thought he was a hero riding in to save the day, others saw him as a money-hungry titan, a puppet master manipulating the threads of the economy. This ain't just a story, it's a saga that's etched into the history books with golden letters. We're talking about a man who had presidents on speed dial and whose legacy shaped the course of industries. So sit tight and prepare for a roller coaster ride, because JP Morgan's tale is like nothing you've ever heard before, and trust me, it's a tale you won't forget. It's 1837, and in good old Connecticut, John Pierpont Morgan makes his grand entrance. Now, his family wasn't exactly pinching pennies. His dad, Junior Spencer Morgan, was basically swimming in money as a top-notch banker. He had big dreams for John, wanting him to be the Robin Hood of finance, minus the stealing, of course. But hold on to your hats, because young Johnny's childhood was like a roller coaster of health troubles. This kid wasn't just a regular sickly child, he was a walking encyclopedia of medical conditions. We're talking coughing fits that could rival a rock concert, migraines that could put a jackhammer to shame, seizures that made your everyday thunderstorm look like a drizzle, and oh, let's not forget the parade of diseases, including the fabulous scarlet fever. All this meant he missed out on the playground fun, so he chose to spend his time indoors nerding out over financial statements. But here's where things get wild. This dude gets hit with rheumatic fever, and his dad's brilliant solution? Ship him off like a solo castaway to the Azore Islands in the middle of the Atlantic. Because nothing says get well soon like salty ocean air, right? He's practically Tom Hanks minus the volleyball, folks. So he spends a year there, just Johnny and his thoughts. And when he's finally feeling human again, it's back to school he goes. By 1857, this guy has been globetrotting more than a travel influencer, soaking up knowledge in Boston, Switzerland, and Germany. At 19, he's ready to conquer the financial world like a Wall Street superhero. Speaking of Wall Street, that's where he lands a gig thanks to his pops. He's writing reports about America's financial and political shenanigans to his father's firm across the pond. And oh boy, his dad's got concerns. Thinks his son's a bit of a hothead. Case in point, 1859, John's in New Orleans and decides, why not? Let's buy a whole shipment of Brazilian coffee with company money. Risky move, my friends. He does make a profit, but the old guard in the banking house ain't amused. In 1861, at just 24 years old, John stepped away from the safe harbor of an established firm and took the bold leap to start his own company. Around the same time, he married his first love, Amelia Sturgis, and for a brief while, life was pure bliss. But fate had other plans. Amelia's health took a sour turn, marked by an unwavering cough that turned out to be tuberculosis. So right after they tied the knot, John swept Amelia away on an extended honeymoon in the Mediterranean. Hoping that the soothing sea breezes and sunny shores might work their magic, just like John's old man had hoped for him back in the day. But, well, it was like casting pearls to the wind. The climate's touch just couldn't mend what was broken. Tragically, John's wife died just 4 months after their wedding, leaving John a widower at 24. Understandably, he was an inconsolable mess, and it's believed he never truly recovered from this tragic loss of his wife at such a young age. But wait, there's more. The American Civil War is in full swing. Now, John could have been a soldier, but he's like, nah, let's throw some money at the problem. $300 later, and he's got to stand in for the battle. But he's not sitting on the sidelines. Oh no, he's profiteering from the chaos, financing rifle deals like a wartime entrepreneur. And you think that's the end? Think again. John's got bigger storms brewing on the horizon, and trust me, this is just the opening act of his whirlwind life, so stay tuned, because things are about to get wilder than a bull market on steroids. So here we are, 1871. John's got his eyes on a glittering prize, and that prize's name is Anthony Drexel, a big shot financier. Together, they birthed the brainchild known as Drexel Morgan & Co., which eventually got a sleek rebrand as JP Morgan & Co. And guess what? That's the very foundation of the financial Goliath we now know as JP Morgan Chase. It's like the origin story of a legendary superhero team-up. Now, early on, Johnny Boy was more like a matchmaker for moolah. Picture him as a financial cupid, connecting deep-pocketed investors with big dreams and making a cut for himself. But as he piled up his own gold stash and built a reputation bigger than the stock market, he took a bold step, investing in his own schemes. And oh boy, did he have a big target: the American railroad system. Here's the scoop. While Carnegie's empire was all about steel and Rockefeller was the oil emperor, railroads were like the Wild West of competition. There were more railroads than Starbucks outlets, all offering similar routes and slashing prices like they were in a discount frenzy. But guess who looked at this chaos and saw a golden opportunity? Yep, our man John. While others saw rivalries, John saw potential in unity. He said, "Let's stop this price-slashing circus and bring them all under one roof." Why? Because he knew big meant better. You see, the bigger the business, the more it could enjoy the perks of being a bigwig, economies of scale. So John's grand mission was to morph a bunch of small fries into one colossal powerhouse. Imagine it like a business Avengers, merging the railroads like superheroes forming a mega team. Suddenly, instead of battling for customers with cutthroat pricing, they'd dictate the prices and ride the gravy train of monopoly. John went all in on this plan, scooping up struggling railroads, shaking up their management, and then stitching them together like the ultimate rail network quilt. He wasn't just playing the game, he was rewriting the rules. Heck, he was the guy they named the game after. Morganization, folks. It's like inventing your own board game and having everyone else play by your rules. But that's not all that set John apart. While others were happy being casual shareholders, chilling with their dividends, John was cut from a different cloth. This guy didn't just want a slice of the pie, he wanted the whole bakery. He wasn't just content with buying shares and kicking back, no sir, he wanted to be the conductor of the whole damn orchestra. This power play actually created stability in the industry, making it rain with investments from Europe. John, the puppet master, was yanking the strings of the railway world like he's orchestrating the coolest gig in town. How'd he do it? Well, first off, dude had a nose for power. Literally. He had the skin condition rosacea that made his nose redder than a lobster at a summer cookout. And just to make things extra interesting, he had rhinophema, which gave his nose a pimple-ridden, larger-than-life appearance. Total self-confidence booster, right? Nah, not really. Dude hated getting photographed and insisted on having his nose airbrushed to appear normal in portraits. But hey, his nose wasn't the only thing that had a larger-than-life vibe. John was also a towering presence, with a voice that could probably rattle the stock market tickers. He didn't just speak, he commanded attention, and he had a mission: to merge, acquire, and take over the railroads like he was playing a giant game of Monopoly on steroids. He bought a whopping 250,000 shares of the New York Central Railroad. The following year, he orchestrated the largest transaction in railroad bonds ever made in the United States, underwriting the sale of $40 million in bonds to finance the completion of the Northern Pacific Railroad. By the time the dust settled, John owned 1/3 of all railroads in America, when 60% of the stock market's worth was in railroad companies. Yeah, he wasn't just playing with money, he was molding industries, shaping empires. But as the saying goes, with great power comes, well, you know the rest. President Theodore Roosevelt stepped up to the plate, basically saying, "John, you're treading on thin ice, buddy." John had just formed this massive beast of a holding company, the Northern Securities Corporation, combining railways like a railroad Voltron. And he was all cool when he was all chums with the previous president, but now Teddy's in charge and he's got a different playbook. Roosevelt throws down the gauntlet with the Justice Department, saying, "You violated the Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890, buddy." Court battles ensue, but ultimately, John's empire crumbles. His once unstoppable Northern Securities Corporation gets dismantled like a Jenga tower during an earthquake. And that, my friends, was the beginning of a feisty showdown between these two titans, John, the financial maverick, and Teddy, the rough-riding president. When John heard Roosevelt was going to Africa one year, John said, "Good, I hope the first lion that meets him does his duty." But don't think for a second that John's spirit was crushed. He was just getting started. This setback was like a speed bump on the highway of his ambitions. It's 1901 and Carnegie Steel is basically the heavyweight champ of the steel world. This company was raking in a whopping $40 million a year. But Andrew Carnegie, the steel maestro himself, decides he's had enough of the hustle and wants to cash in his chips. The problem was, he needed someone to take over his steel empire. Guess who swooped in? Yup, our man John, the financial wizard with pockets as deep as the Grand Canyon. Now, let me set the scene for you. Carnegie's all like, name your price, John. And John, without batting an eyelash, goes, sure thing, buddy. How about $480 million? A price that could have made King Midas blush. And here's the kicker. John would have even tossed in an extra $100 million if Carnegie asked. So, in 1901, history's inked in, and John just snags Carnegie Steel like it's a casual purchase at a convenience store. But wait, that's not the end of our story. Our man isn't just about one-trick ponies, he's the ringleader of the greatest financial circus. He decides to throw a meager party, inviting Carnegie Steel and the Federal Steel Company as VIP guests. A few other businesses get invited too, because why not? The result? US Steel, the world's first billion-dollar corporation, struts onto the scene with a cool market cap of $1.4 billion. To put things in perspective, all the manufacturing in the entire country is worth a combined $9 billion. And here's John, casually controlling a good chunk of it. He's basically the heavyweight champion of the steel industry, and he's not stopping there. Hold on. It's not just steel that's on John's agenda. He's like, oh, Edison, you messing around with electricity? Here's some cash. John's money helps Thomas Edison tinker with light bulbs and stuff, and then he's like, wait, why not merge Edison Electric with its pals and create a powerhouse? Hello, General Electric. And don't think he's stopped there. John's fingers are in more pies than you can imagine. He's like the genius matchmaker of the business world, creating partnerships that make even the most notorious celebrity matchmakers jealous. He's whispering sweet deals into AT&T's ear, laying the groundwork for a telecommunications giant that would span generations. But guess what? Just when things are looking sunnier than a beach vacation, a storm's brewing on the horizon. The United States was riding the wave of unchecked growth and investments. Everything's peachy, until it's not. 1893 hits like a ton of bricks. The economy takes a nosedive like a roller coaster on a freefall. Stocks, they're in the gutter, losing almost half their value. Businesses are shuttering their doors left and right, banks are going bankrupt faster than a game of Monopoly gone wrong, and the unemployment rates, they're skyrocketing like fireworks on the 4th of July. It's like a giant panic party, and everyone's invited. Foreign investors are piecing out, exchanging their American bonds for gold like they're trading Pokemon cards. This gold rush depletes the US reserves faster than you can say economic meltdown. See, back in the day, the dollar was tied to the gold standard. You could exchange your paper money for actual gold, which kind of gave people peace of mind that their money wasn't just fairy dust. But here's the kicker. The US had this stash of gold, like $100 million worth, just in case. But by 1895, it was like a magician's disappearing act. At its lowest, the government had no more than $9 million worth of gold reserves, which meant that it was in danger of defaulting on its loans at any moment. Now, enter John P. Morgan, our financial hero in a three-piece suit. He knows this is crunch time, like a financial final boss battle. He hops on a train to Washington like, President Cleveland, we've got a situation. He's not there to twiddle his thumbs. He's got a game plan that could pull America back from the brink. John's master plan was to gather the big shots of banking in a private syndicate. Think of it like the Avengers assembling to save the world, except they're saving the US economy. He ropes in the who's who of bankers and foreign investors, and they're like, hey, let's shore up America's gold reserves, shall we? They're offering to buy $65 million worth of 30-year gold bonds using 3.5 million ounces of gold. It's like playing a high-stakes poker game with the future of a nation. Now this is where it gets crazy. Thanks to some ancient Civil War statute magic, President Cleveland can give the nod to this deal right then and there. No Congress approval needed. He's like, let's do it. John's phone lines are on fire. He's like a conductor orchestrating the whole thing. In just 22 minutes, boom, the deal's done. The gold bonds are bought. And just like that, the dust settles. John's lightning-fast decision brings a calming hush to the stormy financial seas. The markets stabilize, and faith is restored in the economy. But of course, this being John P. Morgan, he didn't just save the day, he saved it with style. The icing on the cake, he made a killing on the deal, securing sweet rates on those gold bonds. The hero saves the day, and his pockets get a little plumper in the process. But you know, this act of financial wizardry has its critics too. Some folks are side-eyeing John's influence over the whole show. Was he a patriotic savior, or just a savvy opportunist? The lines are blurred, my friends, but hey, that's the world of high-stakes finance for you. It's election time, and the big bank's love affair with the government is stealing the limelight. Now, John and his banking buddies are like, hey, we're gonna back the Republican nominee. That's where the party's at. And guess what? They picked the winner, so John still got that comfy seat at the government's table thanks to his donation game. But hold on to your hats, because this isn't the first time he's ridden in to save the day. Let's rewind to 1907. Another financial crisis is knocking on the door. Banks are teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. People are lining up around the block to get their cash, and rumor has it that the government had to tell bank tellers to count the money at the speed of a sloth on a chill day. Why? Because if everyone starts yanking out their moolah all at once, we're looking at financial Armageddon. And guess who's in the Oval Office at this point? None other than Teddy Roosevelt, the same dude who once locked horns with our financial maestro, John. But hold the phone, because when the going gets tough, even the toughest guys gotta join forces. Crisis calls for teamwork, and both John and Teddy are like, okay, maybe we can bury the hatchet just this once. So Teddy reaches out to our hero John and says, hey, you got this, right? And John's like, sure thing, Teddy. I'll put on my superhero cape and save the day. He gathers the bigwigs of finance in his private library. John's plan, invest in the struggling banks. He's like, listen up, folks, we're gonna help our little buddies here. We'll throw money at them like confetti at a party. But it's not just talk, they're putting their money where their mouths are. John and his pals toss stacks of cash at these banks so they can pay their customers and not declare bankruptcy faster than you can say financial catastrophe. It gets even better. John locks them all in a room until they agree on a plan. He's like, no exit till we got a solution, boys. By morning, the deal's sealed and the bankers have come to a consensus. Teddy's in on this too, and the US Treasury chips in $25 million, showing that even the president's got faith in John's financial wizardry. Now, here's the twist. John's 70 years old, battling a nasty cold, coughing and sneezing like a champ while he's saving the entire US economy. He's basically the unsung hero of Wall Street, saving the day even when he's under the weather. His plan works like a charm. The economy gets an adrenaline shot, public confidence in the banking system is restored, and another potential disaster bites the dust, all thanks to John's magic touch. But hold on to your seats, because this isn't just a feel-good tale. People are starting to realize they're relying a tad too heavily on one guy, John. Like, where's the backup plan, folks? The era of the mighty robber baron is fading into the sunset, and the public is starting to give those eyebrow raises to a handful of folks sitting on piles of power and influence. It's like society woke up from a nap and realized, hey, maybe we shouldn't just let a few people run the whole show. So, what happens next? Well, our main man John gets summoned to the stage to testify before the Pujo Committee. They're investigating this thing called the Money Trust and its sneaky hand in the American economy. And guess who's at the center of attention? It's John P. Morgan himself, the face of Wall Street's power plays. John's not having the best of times. Behind those polished suits and the impressive deals, his mental state's taking a hit. He's juggling multiple nervous breakdowns and struggling with the bad press the media's throwing his way. And here's a crazy fact. He was actually supposed to board the Titanic for its maiden voyage, but health issues swooped in like a hero just in time, and he pulled out. But wait, there's more. The Peugeot committee doesn't just drop the mic and call it a day. They pave the way for something big, something that's about to change the game, the establishment of the Federal Reserve. They're like, let's not just rely on a handful of super rich dudes to fix our economy, and that's when the world starts to shift. But before John can witness the aftershocks of this investigation, tragedy strikes. On March 31st, 1912, at the age of 75, the financial titan takes his final bow while vacationing in Rome. And with his passing, his son takes over the family business, continuing the legacy that's been set in motion. Now, fast forward to the present day, and we're still feeling the tremors of John P. Morgan's influence. The bank has undergone countless acquisitions and mergers over the years, something John himself would have been proud of, like mergers with Bank One, Bear Stearns, and most notably of all in the year 2000, the merger with Chase Bank to create JP Morgan Chase. After 200 years of consolidation in the banking industry, JP Morgan Chase stands as the biggest bank in the world by market cap, boasting a whopping $3 trillion in assets. Opinions on John might be as varied as a buffet menu, but one thing's for sure, his legacy is woven into the very fabric of modern finance. Whether you're cheering for him or raising an eyebrow, his impact is undeniable. History is filled with prominent figures who changed the world of finance, some for good, others for worse. One of the most notorious stories in finance is the tale of Charles Ponzi, the father of the Ponzi scheme. If you haven't caught his story yet, trust me, you're in for a wild ride. Just click right over here and prepare to be amazed.